The emergency lights flashed red across the Galactic Council chamber. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat in the human delegation seat, her hands folded calmly on the table before her. Around the circular room, representatives from 40 different alien species talked loudly, their voices mixing into a sound of panic and fear. Chair being Morutal, an insect-like creature with 6 arms and compound eyes, tried to bring order to the chaos. His translator device crackled as he spoke. "Please, honored members, we must remain calm." But calm was impossible. 3 colonies had been destroyed in the past month. Thousands were dead, and nobody knew who did it. The Thaxian ambassador, a being made of living crystal, stood up. Her voice rang like bells through the chamber. "My people are terrified. The attackers came in the night. Our sensors detected nothing. Our cameras saw nothing. By morning, the entire settlement was gone. Buildings destroyed, people missing, no trace of who or what attacked us." A murmur of agreement rolled through the chamber. The Brecken representative, a large bear-like creature, slammed his paw on the table. "Same with our mining colony on Brecca 7. We found the ruins 2 days ago. 3,000 workers, gone. Our best military analysts studied the site. They found no evidence, no footprints, no weapon signatures, nothing." Chen listened carefully, her dark eyes moving from speaker to speaker. She had read all the reports on the flight to the council station. The attacks were coordinated and brutal. Each one left the same calling card: total destruction with 0 evidence. "Perhaps it was a natural disaster," suggested a small, floating, jellyfish-like creature from the Quellan delegation. "No," the Brecken ambassador growled. "The damage patterns show weapons fire, but weapons we cannot identify. This was an attack, not nature." Chair being Morutal's antennae twitched nervously. "Then we face an enemy who can strike without being seen, an enemy who leaves no trace. How do we fight such a threat?" The chamber fell silent. It was the question everyone feared to ask. Then the main doors opened. 6 figures entered the chamber. They walked with confidence, their steps perfectly synchronized. As they moved into the light, the assembled aliens could see they wore armor that seemed to shimmer and shift, like looking at something through water. The leader stepped forward to the center of the circular room. He was tall, with skin that looked like dark purple stone. His eyes glowed with a red light that made several ambassadors lean back in their seats. "You ask how to fight us?" His voice was deep and cold. "You cannot. I am High Commander Zekthor of the Velkrath Empire. We are the ones who destroyed your colonies. We are the ones you cannot see. We are the ones you cannot stop." Chaos erupted again. Ambassadors jumped to their feet, shouting questions and accusations. Security guards moved forward, their weapons raised. Zekthor laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Your weapons are useless. Your defenses are worthless. Allow me to demonstrate." He pressed a button on his armor. Then he disappeared. Not slowly, not fading away. One moment he stood in the center of the chamber, solid and real. The next moment there was nothing, just empty space. Chen leaned forward, her eyes fixed on where Zekthor had been standing. The other 5 Velkrath soldiers still stood by the door, watching with what looked like amusement. "Scan the area," Chair being Morutal ordered. "Find him." Technicians worked frantically at their stations. Screens lit up with different scanning modes: heat sensors, motion detectors, mass analyzers, electromagnetic readers, everything the council had available. All of them showed nothing. "There is no heat signature," one technician reported, his voice shaking. "No mass displacement, no electromagnetic field. According to our instruments, there is nothing in the center of the chamber." "But he must be there," the Thaxian ambassador insisted. "Matter cannot simply vanish." A voice came from the empty air, Zekthor's cold tone filled with mockery. "Cannot? We have perfected phase-shifting technology. We exist outside your normal space. Your sensors cannot detect us. Your eyes cannot see us. Your weapons cannot touch us. We are ghosts, and you are helpless before us." He reappeared, standing in exactly the same spot. His red eyes swept across the chamber, watching the fear grow on every alien face. Well, almost every face. Chen's expression remained calm and thoughtful. "Here are our terms," Zekthor announced. "Every member species of this council will pay tribute to the Velkrath Empire. You will provide us with resources, technology, and territory. You have one standard galactic week to agree." "And if we refuse?" the Brecken ambassador demanded, though his voice lacked its earlier strength. Zekthor smiled, showing sharp teeth. "Then we will do to your homeworlds what we did to those 3 colonies, but we will not be quick about it. We will take our time, we will make examples, and you will never see us coming." He gestured to his soldiers, and all 6 of them pressed their armor controls. They vanished as completely as Zekthor had, leaving no trace they had ever been there. The chamber erupted into argument. Some ambassadors wanted to fight. Others insisted surrender was the only option. A few suggested running, abandoning their territories and fleeing to the far edges of the galaxy. Chen listened to it all. She watched how fear spread like a disease through the chamber. She saw trained diplomats and military leaders reduced to panic by an enemy they could not detect or fight. Finally, she stood up. "Chair being Morutal, I request that Earth be given 72 hours before this council makes any decision." The insect leader looked at her with all his compound eyes. "Ambassador Chen, with respect, what can humanity do in 72 hours? We have the finest scientists in the galaxy here. They cannot detect these invaders. What makes you think your species can succeed where others have failed?" Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Because humans have been hunting things we cannot see for hundreds of thousands of years. We have been prey and predator both. We learn to survive in darkness, to track what leaves no tracks, to fight what hides in shadows. Give us 3 days, and we will find an answer." "This is foolish," the Brecken ambassador roared. "We should surrender now, negotiate the best terms we can." "Surrender if you wish," Chen replied calmly, "but Earth will not kneel to threats. Not without exploring every option first." Morotal's antennae twitched as he considered. Finally, he nodded. "Very well. The Council will delay its decision for 72 hours. But Ambassador Chen, I hope you understand what failure will mean. If humans cannot find a solution, we may have no choice but to accept the Velkrath demands." "I understand perfectly," Chen said. She was already activating her communication device, sending an urgent message back to Earth. The message was simple. "We have an enemy who can become invisible. Send me our best hunters." As the council session dissolved into worried discussions, Chen remained seated, her mind already working through possibilities. She thought about human history, about the predators her ancestors had faced, about the ways humans had learned to survive when stronger, faster, more dangerous creatures hunted them. Humans had always been good at solving impossible problems. They had always found ways to fight enemies that seemed unbeatable. She hoped that skill would be enough now, because if it was not, the entire galaxy would fall to an enemy that could not be seen, could not be stopped, and could strike anywhere at any time. The countdown had begun. 72 hours to find a solution. 72 hours to prove that humanity deserved its place among the stars. 72 hours to show that invisibility was not the same as invincibility. The research vessel Archimedes cut through space at maximum speed, racing toward the council station. In the main laboratory, 2 very different people studied the same problem. Dr. Elena Rivera stood before a wall of screens, her eyes moving rapidly across data streams. She was a small woman with gray-streaked hair pulled back in a messy bun. Coffee stains marked her lab coat. She had not slept in 20 hours, and she had no intention of sleeping anytime soon. Beside her, Captain James Okonkwo sat perfectly still, watching the same data with the patient focus of a hunter. He was tall and muscular, his hands scarred from years of combat training. Where Rivera saw the problem through science, Okonkwo saw it through strategy. "Play the council recording again," Rivera said, not looking away from her screens. The hologram flickered to life, showing High Commander Zekthor disappearing in the council chamber. Rivera watched the alien vanish, her lips moving silently as she counted the seconds. "There," she said, freezing the image. "Did you see that?" Okonkwo leaned forward. "See what? He is gone. The sensors show nothing." "Exactly. The sensors show nothing. But look at the council members' faces. Look at how their eyes track across the empty space. They are not looking randomly. They are following something their conscious minds cannot perceive." Rivera pulled up another screen, showing brain scan data from 3 different species who had witnessed Velcrath attacks. "I have been analyzing the survivors' neurological patterns. Every single one shows the same anomaly. There is activity in the parts of their brains that process visual information, but the data is not reaching their conscious awareness." "Meaning?" Okonkwo asked. "Meaning their eyes are seeing the Velcrath. Their brains are receiving the visual data, but something is blocking that information from being processed consciously. It is like a filter installed directly in their minds." Rivera began pacing, her hands gesturing excitedly. "It is brilliant, really. They are not truly invisible. They are not phasing out of normal space. They are using some kind of neurological interference. They make every brain around them refuse to acknowledge their presence." "A psychic weapon," Okonkwo said thoughtfully. "Not exactly psychic, but close enough. Some kind of field that interferes with neural processing. It would explain everything. Why sensors pick up nothing. The sensors are operated by living beings whose brains are being affected. Why no evidence is left. The Velcrath are there the whole time, but nobody's brain will let them see it." She pulled up a new screen showing human brain structure. "But here is the interesting part. Human brains evolve differently from almost every other species in the galaxy. We have unique neural pathways developed from millions of years of pattern recognition and social interaction. We see faces in clouds. We find patterns in random noise. Our brains are constantly looking for things that are not there." Okonkwo smiled slowly. "So their weapon might not work on us. More than that, I think we can train human brains to overcome the interference completely. We can teach our minds to see through their trick." "How long will that take?" Rivera checked her calculations. "For basic resistance, about 4 hours of training per person. For complete immunity, maybe 8 to 10 hours. We have 72 hours total," Okonkwo noted. "Not enough time to train an army." "No," Rivera agreed, "but enough time to train a team, enough to prove it works." She turned to face him fully. "Captain, I can give you the ability to see them. But then what? What is your plan once you can perceive an enemy everyone else cannot?" Okonkwo stood up and walked to the tactical display. He pulled up a map of the council station. "Ambassador Chen will arrange a demonstration. The Velcrath are arrogant. They will want to show off their power again. When they do, I will be ready." "You plan to fight them? Alone?" "Not fight," Okonkwo corrected. "Hunt. There is a difference. Fighting is about strength against strength. Hunting is about patience, observation, and understanding your prey better than they understand themselves." He zoomed in on the council chamber. "The Velcrath think invisibility makes them predators, but predators can become prey very easily. They just need to meet something higher on the food chain." Rivera looked at the tall soldier with new respect. "You actually think you can do this?" "Doctor, I have tracked enemy soldiers through jungles where visibility was 3 meters. I have fought in caves so dark I could not see my own hands. I have hunted people who had every technological advantage and did not want to be found. This," he gestured at the recordings of the Velcrath, "this is just another hunt." Over the next 30 hours, Rivera worked with Okonkwo and 5 other soldiers she had brought from Earth. She had designed a training program based on her neurological research. It used targeted electromagnetic pulses, specific visual exercises, and mental conditioning techniques to rewire how the brain processed certain sensory information. The first test subject was a young lieutenant named Park. Rivera fitted her with the neural interface helmet and started the program. "You will see flashing lights," Rivera explained. "Your job is to focus on the spaces between the flashes. Not on the lights themselves, but on what the lights reveal in the darkness." Park nodded and closed her eyes. The program began. 30 minutes later, Park opened her eyes. "Doctor, I feel strange, like I am seeing things from the corner of my eye that disappear when I look directly at them." "Perfect," Rivera said. "That is exactly what should happen. Your brain is learning to process information it normally would ignore." The training continued. Rivera pushed each soldier through increasingly difficult exercises. She showed them images with hidden patterns. She played sounds at frequencies most people would not consciously hear. She taught them to trust their subconscious perception, even when their conscious mind said nothing was there. Okonkwo proved to be her best student. His years of combat training had already taught him to trust his instincts, to react to threats he could not fully see. Rivera's program simply enhanced what his experience had already developed. By the end of the second day, all 6 soldiers could reliably detect objects that were being masked by the Velcrath interference technology. Rivera had created a simulation using captured Velcrath equipment data, and her team could track the invisible targets with 70% accuracy. "It is not perfect," she told Okonkwo. "You will still have moments where your brain tries to reject what you are seeing. The interference is strong, but you will see them. More than anyone else in that council chamber will." "70% is enough," Okonkwo replied. "In combat, awareness is everything. If I know they are there, I can predict where they will move. I can anticipate their actions. They have been invisible for so long, they have probably gotten sloppy." Ambassador Chen joined them via video link. "Captain, I have arranged your demonstration. The Velcrath have agreed to show the Council their power again. They find the idea of a human challenging them amusing." "Good," Okonkwo said. "Let them be amused. Amused enemies make mistakes." "There is one more thing," Chen added. "High Commander Zekthor himself will be there. He wants to see a human fail in person." Okonkwo smiled. It was not a warm expression. "Then he will have a front-row seat to watch his own technology proven worthless." Rivera spent the final hours refining the neural training, pushing the accuracy higher. She also worked on a secondary project, a way to broadcast the counter-interference across a wide area. It was not ready yet, but she was making progress. As the Archimedes approached the council station, Okonkwo stood in the training room, running through combat drills. He moved through forms he had practiced 10,000 times, but now he practiced them with his eyes closed, relying on other senses. Park watched him from the doorway. "Captain, are you nervous?" Okonkwo opened his eyes and stopped moving. "Always. Fear keeps you sharp. But I am also confident. We have something the Velcrath do not expect." "What is that, sir?" "Knowledge. They think we are like the other species. They think we will panic when we cannot see them. But humans spent millions of years being afraid of things we could not see, afraid of what lurked in the dark, what hunted us in the night. We did not survive by running away. We survived by learning to hunt back." He picked up a training weapon and tossed it to Park. "We are not the prey species they think we are. We are the species that refused to stay prey. That is what they are about to learn." The Archimedes docked with the council station with 12 hours remaining before the deadline. Rivera immediately began setting up monitoring equipment in the council chamber. She wanted to record everything that happened. Chen met Okonkwo in the docking bay. "The council is gathering now. Are you ready?" "Yes, Ambassador." "Captain, you understand what happens if this fails? If you cannot detect them, the Council will vote to surrender. Earth will stand alone against the Velcrath. Okonkwo adjusted his uniform. Then I will not fail. Dr. Rivera has given me the tools. The rest is up to me. They walked together through the station corridors. Alien beings stepped aside to let them pass, staring at the humans with mixtures of hope and doubt. In the council chamber, representatives from 40 species waited. At the center of the room, High Commander Zekthor stood with 3 of his soldiers beside him, his red eyes fixed on Okonkwo as the human entered. "So," Zekthor said, his voice full of contempt, "this is Earth's answer? One soldier?" Okonkwo walked calmly to the center of the chamber and faced the Velcrath commander. "One is all we need." Zekthor laughed, and his soldiers joined in. "Very well, human. My warriors will attack you while phase shifted. If you can defend yourself against enemies you cannot see, the council may choose to resist. If you fail, your species will accept our terms, along with all the others." "Agreed," Chen said from her seat. Rivera activated her recording equipment, her heart pounding. She had done everything she could. Now it was up to Okonkwo. The captain stood in the arena area, unarmed, relaxed. He closed his eyes briefly, then opened them. "I am ready," he said quietly. The council chamber fell silent. Every eye, compound or simple, focused on the arena floor where Captain Okonkwo stood alone. High Commander Zekthor raised one hand, and 3 of his soldiers moved to the edge of the combat area. "Last chance to surrender, human," Zekthor said, his voice mocking. "My warriors are trained killers. They have ended hundreds of lives. You will not even see them coming." Okonkwo said nothing. He simply shifted his stance slightly, weight balanced, hands loose at his sides. His eyes remained calm and focused. Zekthor's expression showed satisfaction. He thought the human was frozen in fear. "Begin," he commanded. The 3 Velcrath soldiers pressed controls on their armor. They vanished. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The alien representatives leaned forward in their seats, staring at their sensor displays. Every screen showed the same thing. Nothing. The arena floor appeared empty except for the lone human standing in the center. Ambassador Chen watched from her seat, her hands gripped tight on the armrests. Beside her position, Dr. Rivera monitored her equipment, tracking Okonkwo's neural patterns. Everything looked normal. The training was holding. In the arena, Okonkwo's head tilted slightly to the left. To everyone watching, he seemed to be staring at empty air. Then he moved. He dropped low and rolled forward, coming up in a fighting stance with his hands raised. His eyes tracked something nobody else could see. "What is he doing?" the Thaxian ambassador whispered. "There is nothing there." But Okonkwo moved like he was facing a real threat. He stepped sideways, his footwork precise. Then his hands shot out in a strike that hit nothing but air. Or so it seemed. There was a sound, a grunt of pain from nowhere. Okonkwo's strike had connected with something. Chair-being Morotal's antennae stood straight up in shock. "The sensors still show nothing. How is this possible?" Okonkwo was moving constantly now, never staying still. He ducked under something invisible, blocked an attack that came from empty space, countered with a strike that made another invisible opponent stumble backward. Rivera watched her screens with growing excitement. His neural patterns are perfect. He is seeing them. He is actually seeing them. In the arena, Okonkwo fought 3 opponents that only he could perceive. To the council, it looked like an elaborate dance with ghosts. But there was nothing fake about the combat. His breathing quickened with effort. Sweat appeared on his forehead. When his blocks connected, the impact vibrated through his arms. One of the invisible Velcraft tried to circle behind him. Okonkwo spun and kicked, his foot connecting solidly with something at chest height. The grunt of pain was louder this time, following by the sound of armored body hitting the floor. Zekthor's confident expression began to crack. "Impossible," he muttered. "The phase shift is working perfectly. The sensors detect nothing. How is he tracking them?" Okonkwo pressed his advantage. He moved like water, flowing between attacks, always aware of where all three opponents were positioned. His years of training showed in every movement. This was not lucky guessing. This was precision combat. He caught an invisible arm mid-strike, twisted, and threw. Something large and heavy crashed into the arena wall with a loud bang. The watching aliens jumped in their seats. Two opponents left. Okonkwo faced the empty air where they stood, his stance ready. One attacked high, while the other swept low, trying to trap him between them. Okonkwo jumped. His leap took him over the low attack, while he struck downward at the high attacker. Both opponents missed. Okonkwo did not. He landed and immediately spun, his elbow driving backward into what looked like empty space. There was a crunch and another pained grunt. The second Velcrath warrior fell. Only one remained. This one seemed to be the most skilled. It circled carefully, looking for an opening. Okonkwo turned slowly, keeping the invisible threat in front of him. The Velcrath attacked with a combination of strikes that should have been impossible to defend against, coming from an enemy that could not be seen. Okonkwo blocked every single one. His hands moved in precise patterns, deflecting blows, redirecting force. Then he saw his chance. As the Velcrath warrior committed to a powerful strike, Okonkwo stepped inside the attack's range. He was too close for the warrior to adjust. His hand struck the warrior's neck in a carefully controlled blow, not enough to kill, but more than enough to render unconscious. There was a final grunt, and then the sound of a body collapsing to the floor. The chamber erupted into chaos. Aliens were shouting, demanding explanations, arguing about what they had just witnessed. Okonkwo stood in the center of the arena, breathing hard, surrounded by three invisible bodies. "Lies!" Zekthor roared. "Tricks! There is no way a human could see through our technology." "Then explain this," Chen said calmly. She nodded to Okonkwo. The captain reached down to where one of the unconscious Velcrath lay. He grabbed what looked like empty air and dragged. A body appeared, sliding across the floor. The watching council members gasped. As Okonkwo pulled, a Velcrath warrior slowly became visible. First flickering, like a bad hologram, then solidifying completely. The alien lay unconscious on the arena floor, fully exposed. "They were always there," Okonkwo said, his voice carrying clearly through the stunned silence. "They never disappeared. They never phased out of normal space. They just convinced your brains not to see them." Dr. Rivera stood up in the observers section. "If I may, I can explain what humanity discovered." Morotal nodded, still staring at the visible Velcrath warrior in shock. Rivera activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. It showed a simplified brain structure. The Velcrath use neurological interference. They project a field that disrupts how living brains process visual and sensory information. Your eyes see them, your sensors detect them, but the data never reaches your conscious awareness. Your brain filters it out. She changed the display to show different alien brain structures. This works on most species because most intelligent life evolved similar neural pathways for processing sensory data. The Velcraft technology targets those specific pathways. The display changed again, now showing a human brain. But human brains evolved differently. We developed unique pattern recognition abilities. We see faces in clouds. We find shapes in random noise. Our brains constantly look for patterns, even where none exist. This quirk in our evolution makes us partially resistant to the Velcrath interference. Partially? The Brecken ambassador asked. "He defeated 3 warriors." "Captain Okonkwo underwent specialized training," Rivera explained. "We enhanced his natural resistance, taught his brain to ignore the interference signal and trust what his subconscious was perceiving. The result? He can see them almost as clearly as if they were fully visible." Zekthor stood rigid, his red eyes burning with anger. "Even if one human can see us, what difference does it make? You cannot train your entire military in time to stop us. Okonkwo walked over to stand directly in front of the Velkrath commander. You are right, we cannot train everyone immediately, but we do not need to. He gestured to where the three unconscious warriors lay, one visible and two still phase-shifted. You have relied on invisibility for so long that you have forgotten how to actually fight. Your technique is sloppy. Your strategies are obvious. You are dangerous to species that cannot perceive you. But against someone who can see you, you are just soldiers with mediocre training. The insult hit harder than any physical blow. Zekthor's hands clenched into fists. There is more, Chen added, standing up. Dr. Rivera, show them the second part. Rivera nodded and pulled up new data. While training Captain Okonkwo, I also developed this. She held up a small device that looked like a modified sensor array. A broadcaster that disrupts the Velkrath interference signal. It is not perfect yet, but it works over a limited area. Anyone within its range can see the Velkrath clearly. She activated the device. On the arena floor, the two remaining unconscious Velkrath warriors suddenly became visible, as if someone had turned off their cloaking device. We have been working on this for only 72 hours, Chen said, her voice firm. Imagine what we can develop in a week, a month, a year. The Velkrath's greatest weapon is now useless against humanity, and soon it will be useless against all of you. She looked directly at Zekthor. You made a mistake, Commander. You chose to threaten species that included humans. We are problem solvers. We adapt. We overcome. That is what we do best. Morotal stood up on his 6 legs, his antennae quivering with emotion. This is extraordinary. In just 3 days, humanity has defeated a threat that terrified the entire council. We are not done yet, Chen said. Earth offers this technology freely to all council members. The training program, the broadcaster devices, all of it. We will help every species develop resistance to neurological interference. Freely? The Thaxian ambassador sounded suspicious. What does Earth want in return? Nothing, Chen replied simply, except perhaps the understanding that when the Council faces threats in the future, Earth should be consulted sooner rather than later. We bring unique perspectives to problem solving. Okonkwo picked up his uniform jacket and put it back on, completely relaxed now that the fight was over. Commander Zekthor, I suggest you return to your fleet and tell your people that invisibility is no longer an advantage. Tell them that humans can see them now, and tell them that we are teaching everyone else to see them too. Zekthor looked around the chamber. Every alien representative was staring at him with new expressions. Not fear anymore. Calculation. Determination. The power dynamic had completely shifted. This is not over, Zekthor growled. My fleet still outnumbers your forces. We can still destroy your worlds. Your fleet, Chen said quietly, is in our solar system right now, is it not? Zekthor's eyes widened slightly. It was a tiny reaction, but Okonkwo saw it. The commander had not expected humans to know that. I thought so, Chen continued. You sent your fleet to Earth while we were here. You planned to destroy our homeworld as punishment for resisting. Did you think we would not notice? Did you think we would not track invisible ships moving through our space? Zekthor said nothing, but his silence was confirmation enough. Chen smiled, and it was not a friendly expression. Commander, I suggest you contact your fleet, right now, because there is something you need to know about humans. We do not just learn to see what others cannot see, we learn to hunt what others cannot catch. And we have been tracking your invisible fleet since the moment it entered the Sol system. She pulled up a display showing Earth's solar system. It was filled with markers, green ones showing Earth's defense fleet, and red ones showing invisible Velkrath ships. Every single one of them positioned and tracked. We could not see you, Chen said softly, but we learned, we adapted, and now we see everything. Zekthor stared at the display, watching his perfect ambush fall apart before his eyes. His invisible fleet completely exposed. High Commander Zekthor stood frozen in the council chamber, staring at the display that showed his entire fleet exposed. His red eyes flickered between the screen and Ambassador Chen's calm face. Finally, he reached for his communication device. "This is not over," he hissed before vanishing from sight, his phase shift technology activated. The remaining visible Velkrath warrior was dragged away by invisible hands, and soon the aliens were gone. But in the Sol system, 900,000 kilometers from Earth, the real confrontation was beginning. Admiral Thompson sat in the command chair of the ESS Defiant, Earth's largest battleship. Around him, dozens of officers monitored stations that showed a view of space that would terrify most of the galaxy. The display showed 200 Velkrath warships, all of them supposedly invisible, all of them clearly marked on Earth sensors. "Status report," Thompson ordered. His voice was calm, like he was discussing the weather instead of facing the largest alien fleet Earth had ever encountered. "All Velkrath ships are holding position at the Mars orbital line, sir," the tactical officer reported. "They appear to be waiting for orders from their commander." "Good, that gives us time." Thompson stood up and walked to the main display. "Communications, open a channel to all Earth Defense Forces." "Channel open, sir." Thompson looked at the fleet positions. Earth's defense consisted of 80 warships, 500 orbital defense platforms, and thousands of satellite installations. Against 200 Velkrath warships, the numbers were not favorable. But numbers were not everything. "All units, this is Admiral Thompson. Today we face an enemy that believes invisibility makes them invincible. They think we cannot fight what we cannot see. But for the past 72 hours, while they thought they were hidden, we have been watching them. We have tracked every ship. We have monitored every movement. We know exactly where they are." He paused, letting that sink in. "In approximately 2 minutes, we will reveal this to them. When we do, they will realize their advantage is gone. They will face a choice: retreat or fight a battle where both sides can see each other. I suspect they will choose retreat. But if they choose to fight, we will be ready." Thompson returned to his command chair. "Lieutenant Chen, activate Operation Lighthouse." The lieutenant, who happened to be Ambassador Chen's nephew, smiled as he pressed a series of controls. "Activating Lighthouse in 3, 2, 1, mark." Across the Sol system, thousands of installations came to life. Every satellite, every orbital platform, every hidden array that Earth had been secretly positioning for the past 3 days. They all activated in perfect synchronization. Electromagnetic pulses on carefully calculated frequencies filled space. Not weapons, not attacks, just signals designed to disrupt the Velkrath neurological interference at its source. On the Velkrath flagship, alarms began shrieking. "Commander!" a panicked officer shouted. "Our phase shift systems are being interfered with. We are becoming visible." High Commander Zekthor, who had just teleported back to his ship from the council station, rushed to the bridge. "Impossible! How could they?" His question was answered when he looked at the main view screen. His fleet, all 200 ships that should have been completely invisible, were now lit up like beacons. Every Earth sensor, every targeting system, every pair of human eyes could see them clearly. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was what the sensors showed around his fleet. Earth ships, hundreds of them, positioned exactly where his scouts had reported empty space. "Sir," the tactical officer said, his voice shaking, "we are surrounded. They have weapons locked on every ship in our fleet." Zekthor stared at the display in disbelief. His perfect ambush had been turned against him. While his ships had been approaching Earth, confident in their invisibility, Earth had been moving their own forces into position. The predator had become the prey. A communication request came through. Zekthor considered ignoring it, but that would show weakness. He accepted. Admiral Thompson's face appeared on screen. He was an older human, with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. Commander Zekthor, welcome to the Sol system. I am Admiral Thompson, commander of Earth's defense fleet. You will withdraw your forces immediately, Zekthor demanded, trying to sound authoritative, or we will destroy you. Thompson raised an eyebrow. Commander, let me explain your situation. You have 200 warships. We have 80. In a straight fight, you would probably win, but it would not be a straight fight. He gestured to someone off-screen, and the display changed. It showed Velkrath fleet positions with new information overlaid. Firing solutions, kill zones, defensive patterns. We have been tracking your invisible scouts for 3 days, Thompson continued. Every time one of your ships moved, we adjusted our positions. Right now, every single Velkrath warship in the Sol system is in a kill zone. You have weapons locked on us, yes, but we have 3 weapons locked on each of your ships. If this turns into a fight, your fleet will be destroyed before it can destroy ours. You are bluffing, Zekthor said, but his voice lacked conviction. Am I? Thompson smiled coldly. Commander, has it occurred to you that you are in the home system of a species that spent its entire evolutionary history as both predator and prey? We learned to hunt in darkness. We learned to track things we could not see. We developed technology to see through night, through walls, through any obstacle. Did you really think your invisibility trick would work on us? Zekthor said nothing. His hands gripped the armrests of his command chair. Thompson leaned forward. Let me tell you something about humans, Commander. We are problem solvers. You gave us an invisible enemy, so we learned to see you. You brought a fleet to attack our home, so we turned your own tactic against you. You thought invisibility made you hunters. But humans have been hunting things we cannot see since before we invented fire. On the Defiance Bridge, Lieutenant Chen monitored the Velkrath fleet carefully. Sir, their weapons are powering up. Multiple ships. Maintain lock, Thompson ordered calmly. Do not fire unless fired upon. The tension in both fleets was extreme. Hundreds of warships, all armed, all ready, waiting for someone to make the first move. Thompson opened the communication channel again. Commander, I know what you are thinking. You are thinking that even if you lose, you can take Earth with you. You can fire on our planet and kill billions before we destroy your fleet. He shook his head. But look at your display carefully. See those orbital platforms around Earth? Those are not just defense platforms. They are shields. Technology we developed from studying your attacks on the other colonies. If you fire on Earth, your weapons will never reach the surface. But our weapons will reach your ships just fine. Zekthor checked his tactical display. The human was right. Earth was surrounded by a network of defensive installations that formed an overlapping shield matrix. Breaking through would take sustained bombardment, time they would not have while under attack from the entire Earth fleet. You have planned this very carefully, Zekthor said quietly. We had 3 days, Thompson replied. That is not much time, but humans can accomplish a lot when properly motivated. You threatened our home. You threatened the Council. You made the mistake of thinking invisibility was the same as invincibility. Thompson's expression hardened. Here is what happens now. You will power down your weapons. You will withdraw your fleet to the edge of the Sol system, and then you will return to Velkrath space. If you choose to fight instead, we will destroy your fleet. Some of us will die, yes, but all of you will die. That is a certainty. And if we withdraw, Zekthor asked, what guarantee do we have that you will not attack us anyway? The guarantee is that humans prefer to solve problems without killing, Thompson said. We would rather you leave and spread the message that Earth is not a target, that invisibility is not enough, that there are consequences for threatening humanity. He paused, then added, but if you choose to fight, we will give you a different message to spread. Or rather, your survivors will. The message that Earth protects its own, and that anyone who threatens us learns to regret it. On the Velcrath flagship, officers waited for their commander's decision. The bridge was silent except for the humming of systems and the occasional beep of sensors. Zekthor studied the tactical situation. His military training told him everything he needed to know. This was a losing position. Even if his fleet fired first and fired everything, the humans had positioned themselves too well. The Velcrath would die and Earth would survive. All because the humans had learned to see through invisibility in just 3 days. "Power down weapons," he ordered finally. His voice was bitter. "Set course for the system edge. Minimum speed." "Sir," his tactical officer questioned, "we are retreating?" "We are withdrawing," Zekthor corrected sharply. "There is a difference." But there was not really, and everyone on the bridge knew it. Thompson watched the Velcrath fleet power down their weapons. He allowed himself a small smile. "All units, maintain lock, but do not fire. Let them leave." "Sir," Lieutenant Chen asked, "should we not pursue them? Make sure they actually leave council space?" "No," Thompson said. "We made our point. We showed them that invisibility is not enough to threaten Earth. We showed them that we can see them, track them, and counter them. That is more valuable than destroying their fleet would be." He stood up and looked at the display showing the Velcrath ships beginning their slow retreat. "Besides, we want them to go home. We want them to tell their leaders what happened here. We want the entire Velcrath Empire to know that Earth is not a target." "You think they will spread the word, sir?" another officer asked. Thompson nodded. "Commander Zekthor is arrogant and proud, but he is also practical. He knows he lost today. He knows his greatest weapon failed against humanity. And he knows that if he comes back, the result will be the same or worse, because we will have had more time to prepare." He sat back down in his command chair. "The best victory is the one where nobody has to die. Today was a good day." On the Velcrath flagship, as the fleet moved toward the edge of the Sol system, Zekthor sat in his command chair and considered what had happened. His empire's greatest advantage had been neutralized by one species in less than a standard week. The implications were staggering. The Velcrath had built their power on being unseen, on striking from nowhere, on being ghosts that could not be fought. But humans had fought ghosts before. They had been fighting things they could not see for millions of years. It was built into their evolution, their psychology, their entire way of thinking. Zekthor had tried to threaten the one species in the galaxy that specialized in seeing what others could not see. It had been, he now realized, a catastrophic mistake. As the Velcrath fleet retreated and Earth's defensive forces maintained their watch, a message was being sent across the galaxy. Not through official channels, but through the whisper networks that existed between species. Humanity had defeated the invisible threat. Humanity could see what others could not see. Humanity was not to be threatened lightly. The message spread quickly, and the galaxy began to understand that Earth was more than just another species trying to survive among the stars. Earth was a species that adapted, that learned, that turned every threat into a lesson and every challenge into an opportunity. The Velcrath had given humanity the challenge of fighting an invisible enemy. Humanity had responded by making invisibility irrelevant. It was a lesson the galaxy would not soon forget. 1 week after the confrontation in the Sol system, the Galactic Council convened again. The atmosphere in the chamber was completely different from the last meeting. Where there had been panic before, now there was cautious hope. Where there had been fear, now there was curiosity. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat in the human delegation seat, watching as representatives filed in. Many of them nodded to her respectfully as they passed. The Thaxian ambassador, whose people had lost a colony to the Velcra, stopped to speak with her directly. "Ambassador Chen, on behalf of my people, I want to express our gratitude. Your species saved us all from a terrible fate." Chen smiled politely. "We simply solved a problem, Ambassador. That is what we do." At the center of the chamber, where High Commander Zekthor had stood a week ago, a different Velcro now waited. This one was smaller, with darker skin and eyes that held none of Zekthor's arrogance. They wore simple robes instead of battle armor. Chair-being Morotal called the session to order. His antennae moved in patterns that indicated both relief and residual nervousness. The council recognizes the new representative from the Velcro people. Please state your name and purpose. The Velcro bowed deeply. I am Diplomatic Envoy Kelthara. I come on behalf of the Velcro Council of Elders. High Commander Zekthor has been removed from his position and is facing judgment for his actions. The Council of Elders wishes to formally apologize to all species affected by our aggression. Murmurs ran through the chamber. An apology from the Velcro? It was unthinkable a week ago. Kelthara continued, remaining fully visible. No phase shifting, no intimidation tactics. For too long, my people relied on our technological advantage to instill fear and take what we wanted. We believed invisibility made us superior. We were wrong. The humans have shown us that no advantage is permanent and that aggression brings consequences we cannot escape. The envoy turned to face Chen directly. To humanity, we offer our deepest apologies and our respect. You defeated us not through violence, but through understanding. You turned our greatest weapon into a lesson about our own limitations. We will not forget this. Chen stood and gave a small bow. The people of Earth accept your apology, Envoy Kelthara. We hope this marks the beginning of better relations between our peoples. Morutal's relief was visible in every movement of his 6 arms. Excellent. Then we can move forward. Ambassador Chen, I understand you have prepared a presentation for the council? Yes, Chair Being. Chen activated the holographic display at her station. Dr. Rivera's research filled the space above the council floor. Over the past week, Dr. Rivera and her team have refined the counter-technology for neurological interference. We are prepared to share this with all council species, along with the training protocols. She brought up a schematic of the broadcaster device. These units can be installed on any ship, station, or planetary defense grid. They will disrupt neurological interference within their range, making any species using such technology visible to all sensors and observers. This technology, Chen continued, is being offered freely, no payment required, no political concessions demanded. Earth's only request is that it be used for defense, not aggression. The Brecken ambassador, the large, bear-like being who had been so frightened a week ago, stood up. Ambassador Chen, why? Your species could profit enormously from such technology. You could demand concessions, territories, resources. Why give it away? Chen smiled. Because Earth learned long ago that security is not a zero-sum game. When our neighbors are safe, we are safer. When our allies are strong, we are stronger. Humanity benefits more from a secure galaxy than from temporary profit. She changed the display to show human brain structure compared to other species. Besides, this technology is most effective in human hands. Our neurological structure gives us natural advantages in detecting and resisting this form of interference. We want to share those advantages, not hoard them. There is another matter to discuss, Morotal said. Earth's performance in this crisis has demonstrated capabilities the Council did not know humanity possessed. Several members have suggested that Earth should take on greater responsibilities within the Council structure. What kind of responsibilities? Chen asked carefully. The Thaxian ambassador stood up, her crystalline body chiming softly. We propose the formation of a special task force, led by humanity, focused on unconventional threats. Threats that require creative solutions rather than military force. Threats that other species might not perceive until it is too late. She gestured to Chen. Humans see patterns others miss. You solve problems others consider impossible. You adapt to challenges that would defeat most species. These are exactly the qualities needed for such a task force. I would support this proposal, the Brecken ambassador added, but I would also like to understand more about what makes humanity so effective at this type of problem solving. Chen considered how to answer. Finally, she brought up a new display. It showed Earth's evolutionary history in simplified form. The answer lies in how we evolved. Humans were not the strongest species on our planet, not the fastest, not the largest. We survived through intelligence, cooperation, and adaptability. The display showed early humans hunting. We learned to track animals by reading signs others could not see: broken twigs, disturbed dirt, patterns in the grass. We learned to hunt prey that was faster and stronger by being smarter and more persistent. We also learned to survive as prey, Chen continued. The display showed predators, big cats that hunted us at night, pack animals that tracked us by scent. We could not outfight them, so we learned to avoid them, to predict their behavior, to see them coming before they attacked. She changed the display to show human social development. We learned to read faces and body language to understand what others were thinking. We learned to imagine scenarios that had not happened yet, so we could prepare for them. Our entire evolution was about seeing what was hidden and preparing for what was coming. This is fascinating, Morital said, but also somewhat disturbing. You are saying humans evolved specifically to detect threats that other species might not notice? Not specifically, Chen replied. We evolved to survive on a dangerous planet using intelligence rather than physical power. But yes, detecting hidden threats became one of our strengths, along with pattern recognition, long-term planning, and creative problem-solving. The Quellan representative, the floating jellyfish-like being, pulsed with bioluminescence. These traits would be valuable for the Council, but they also make humanity unpredictable. How can we be certain Earth will not use these abilities against us? It was a fair question, and Chen did not shy away from it. You cannot be certain, just as we cannot be certain any species will not turn against us. Trust is a risk. But I can tell you this: humanity prefers cooperation to conflict. We prefer building to destroying. We have seen enough war on our own planet to last 1,000 generations. We did not come to the stars to repeat those mistakes. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from dozens of species. Earth wants to be part of the galactic community. We want to trade, to learn, to grow together. But we will not accept being prey for species like the Velcrath. We will not kneel to threats. If that makes us unpredictable, so be it. But I think most of you would rather have humanity as an ally than as a question mark. The chamber was quiet for a moment. Then the Thaxian ambassador began a gesture that her species used to indicate agreement. Others joined in, each species showing approval in their own way. Morital's antennae waved in what might have been amusement or resignation. Very well. The Council votes on the formation of a joint task force for unconventional threats, with Earth taking a leadership role. All in favor? The vote was unanimous. Even Envoy Kelthara voted yes, though the Velcraft's participation was noted as symbolic rather than active. After the session ended, Chen found herself surrounded by representatives asking questions. How could they access the training programs? Could human advisors visit their worlds? Would Earth share other defensive technologies? She answered patiently, making notes of requests and promising follow-up communications. Finally, the crowd thinned, and she found herself alone with Chair being Morital. Ambassador Chen, may I speak with you privately? The insectoid leader asked. They moved to a small conference room off the main chamber. Morital settled onto a resting platform designed for his body structure, while Chen took a standard seat. I must be honest with you, Morital said, his translator device making his voice sound tired. When Earth joined the Council 5 years ago, we thought we understood humanity. We saw a young species, technologically advanced, but naive about galactic politics. We expected you to follow the patterns other species follow. But we did not. Chen said. No, you did not. Morotal's antennae drooped slightly. You solve problems in ways we do not expect. You see connections we miss. In just 3 days, you defeated a threat that terrified species with thousands of years more experience than you. It is humbling. Chen leaned forward. Chair being, humans do not see this as a competition. We do not want to prove we are superior. We simply approach the Velcrath problem from a different angle than you did. That is all. Is it? Morotal asked. Or is it that humans are better at adapting to new threats than the rest of us? We have become comfortable, complacent. We follow protocols and procedures. But you change your approach based on the situation. You learn from every encounter. He looked at her with his compound eyes. Ambassador, I will tell you something in confidence. Some council members are afraid of humanity, not because you are aggressive, but because you are unpredictable. You do things we cannot anticipate. That is frightening to species who value order and predictability. Chen considered this carefully. What would you suggest we do? Be patient with us, Morutal said. Help us understand how you think. Share your methods, not just your technologies, and perhaps do not change everything too quickly. Give us time to adapt to you, even as you adapt to us. That seems fair, Chen agreed, but I must ask, would you prefer a predictable ally who could not stop the Velcrath, or an unpredictable ally who can? Morotal's antennae moved in a pattern that might have been laughter. When you phrase it that way, the choice is obvious. Very well, Ambassador, Earth will lead the new task force. But I ask that you include representatives from other species in your team. Let them learn from you. Let them see how humans approach problems. We can do that, Chen said. In fact, Dr. Rivera and Captain Okonkwo are already preparing training materials for the task force. They are looking forward to working with specialists from other species. As Chen left the conference room, she activated her personal communicator. Dr. Rivera's face appeared on the small screen. Ambassador, how did the council session go? Better than expected, Chen replied. We are officially leading a task force for unconventional threats. How is the training program coming? Rivera smiled tiredly. She looked like she had not slept much. We have refined the neurological resistance protocols. We can now train someone to resist the Velcrath interference in about 6 hours instead of 8, and the broadcaster network is ready for installation on any council ship that wants it. Excellent work, Doctor. Take a break. That is an order. Soon, Rivera promised. But first I want to finish the analysis of human neurological advantages. If we are going to train other species, I need to understand exactly what makes human brains different and how much of that difference can be replicated through training. Chen smiled. That was exactly the kind of thinking that made humanity valuable to the Council. Never satisfied with just solving the immediate problem, always looking ahead to the next challenge. On Earth, in a military training facility, Captain Okonkwo was teaching a class of soldiers and scientists about threat detection and pattern recognition. His students included 3 humans, 2 Thaxians, and 1 Brecken officer who had volunteered to learn human methods. The key, Okonkwo explained, is to trust your instincts even when your conscious mind says nothing is there. Your subconscious processes far more information than you realize. It sees patterns, detects movement, notices inconsistencies. Most species are trained to ignore these unconscious signals. Humans learn to listen to them. The Brecken officer, whose name was Grom, raised a paw. But how do we develop this skill if we were not evolved for it? Practice, Okonkwo said simply. Lots of practice. You may never reach the same level as a trained human, but you can improve significantly. And more importantly, you can learn to work alongside humans who have these skills naturally. You can learn what signs to look for, what questions to ask. He activated a training simulation. Now let us begin. I have set up a scenario where you must track an opponent who is using stealth technology. The technology is not as advanced as the Velcrath phase shifting, but the principles are similar. Your task is to find and neutralize the threat. As the training continued, Okonkwo reflected on how much had changed in just 1 week. Humanity had gone from being a minor council member to leading a task force. They had defeated an enemy that terrified the galaxy. They had proven that invisibility was not invincibility. But Okonkwo knew this was just the beginning. The Velkrath were not the only species with unusual abilities. The galaxy was full of threats and challenges that the Council had not faced yet. Some of those threats would require human-style thinking to defeat. Humanity was no longer just another species trying to find its place in the galaxy. They were becoming problem solvers for the entire Council, specialists in seeing what others could not see, hunters of threats that hid in shadows. It was a role that fit humanity perfectly. After all, they had been hunting invisible threats since before they invented fire. They had been seeing patterns in darkness since they lived in caves. They had been adapting to impossible challenges since they first looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there. Now they were out there, among the stars, bringing those ancient skills to new challenges. The Velkrath had thought invisibility was power. They had thought being unseen made them unstoppable. They had learned the truth. Invisibility was just another problem, and humans were very good at solving problems. As the sun set on Earth and rose on 100 colony worlds, a new message spread through the galactic networks. A message about the species that could see in the dark, that hunted what could not be seen, that adapted to every challenge. Humanity had arrived. The galaxy was learning what that meant. And somewhere, on a Velkrath world far from Earth, former High Commander Zekthor sat in a detention cell and thought about invisible predators, invisible prey, and how easily those roles could reverse. He had learned his lesson. He hoped the rest of the galaxy would learn it without making the same mistakes he had. Humans did not need to be the strongest or the fastest or the largest. They just needed to be human. That, it turned out, was more than enough.